All right, we're on the record.
Thank you, Ms. Mons, and good evening, everybody. It is 7:39 p.m., Monday, June 14th, 2021. This meeting is being live streamed as well as recorded for storage and viewing on our district website. It's also live streamed on our YouTube page. The public can participate during hearings of individuals and delegates by submitting a written request form using the BOE questions form on our website, and also signing up for live audio public speaks, which is also available on our website. Adequate written notice of this meeting of the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education has been sent to both townships and village clerks, the Star Ledger, the News Record, tapintoSoma.net, and thevillagegreen.com. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, it is now 7:40 p.m. Ms. Del Gercio, can you please call the roll?
I sure can. Good evening,
And just
everyone.
note, I believe Board Member Wright is having technical issues getting on. They may be on. I can't tell. I can't see right now. But just note that for the record, please.
Board Member Wright's called in.
Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Board Member Susan Bergen.
Here.
Board Member Shannon Cuttle.
Here.
Student Representative Lily Foreman.
Here.
Board Member Thayer Joshua.
Here.
Board Member Anne Marie Manny.
Here.
Board Member Alyssa Malaspina.
Here.
Board Member Erin Siders.
Here.
Board Member Courtney Winkfield.
Here.
And Board Member Johanna Wright.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Dr. Sell, we have our board recognitions first. You want to go through that and then our student reps before we get to the ceremony, correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone, and a special good evening to our retirees who will be honoring today. Thank you for joining us digitally and making the effort to go the extra step, as I'm sure you have throughout your career, to join us. Please bear with me as I switch my screens here. It is with great honor, but also sadness, that I join the board in presenting to our student board reps certificates in recognition of your service. Here they are. I'm sure you can see them well. Speaking personally, I truly enjoyed our monthly one-on-one discussions. There's no doubt that your service has impacted our school district in a positive way. Your fellow students, they don't just hear their names and accomplishments read into the public record by you, but they also, now receive updates directly to their own district emails, ensuring that they know they are seen and recognized. You also eloquently represent your fellow students monthly, not only in board meetings, but some may not know that you also attend multiple monthly board committee meetings that sometimes run late into the evenings. Your commitment to service is well documented. Through these and many other ways, you have set a high bar for your predecessors to follow. I've been proud to be your superintendent. So again, congratulations to Lily and Jakai. And we'll arrange for you to stop by, hopefully, to our offices to receive your certificate. We give them a virtual round of applause.
And now, Student Rep Foreman, for what is sadly the last time, please turn over to you for the board recognition.
Thank you. And thank you so much for those kind words. I'll talk a little bit more later about how sad I am to be leaving. Okay, but on a happier note, congratulations to Columbia High School Boys Varsity Ultimate Frisbee team, who won the Ultimate New Jersey State Championship after an undefeated season. The team played their final game against Westfield on Friday, June 4th. This is the team's third straight state championship. The boys varsity team, led by coach Emilio Panaski and senior captains Jordan Backrack and Dexter Clyburn, were undefeated this spring. Due to the pandemic, this season had to be modified from regional and national tournaments to only within state competitions. Congrats to the Frisbee team. Next, we are recognizing rising senior Eliana Perlman. Eliana is a New Jersey Scholar CHS Rising Senior. The New Jersey Scholars Program is a tuition-free 5-week summer program for rising seniors from New Jersey high schools. The mission of the New Jersey Scholars Program is to reach out to able and enthusiastic students who come from a broad cross-section of the state's population. The program creates an intense, interdisciplinary intellectual experience that will change students' lives by teaching them to think in a new way. New Jersey scholars have extensive reading assignments and pursue research at world-class libraries and museums. They write essays and work closely with the faculty member to produce a 10 to 15-page interdisciplinary research paper. They are also stretched as they hone their creative talents in art, music, writing, drama, and public speaking by contributing to an arts festival that is thematically related to the program topic. Congrats, Eliana. Next, every year the Achieve Foundation presents awards to exceptional volunteer tutors. An appreciation reception is usually organized by Achieve to honor and thank them. However, due to COVID, other alternatives are being implemented. The CHS Super Senior Student Awardees, graduating seniors who volunteered as tutors for 3 or more years are Caitlin Schaefer, Cameron Ripley, Erin Long, Fiona Bristol, Jade Poley, Jordan Backrack, Julia Vitale, Karen Curson, Kate Beamer, Kate Meyer, Lily Foreman, Lindsay Gross, Mac Krause, Max Parlin, Phoebe Holtrice, Ruby Hoffman, and Zoe Greyer. Congratulations. Next, we have a recognition of biliteracy. Since 2016, we have been awarding the Seal of Biliteracy to seniors that showed a specific passing grade in a certain formal assessment. Usually, students that score a 4 or a 5 in an AP Language and Culture exam as a junior can be awarded the Seal of Biliteracy as a senior. Unfortunately, the last year, College Board decided to truncate their exam and only offer the speaking portion of the exam. This year, the New Jersey Department of Ed has decided not to accept the truncated form. However, we want to recognize those students that still scored a 4 or 5 in their AP Language and Culture exam last year and would have been awarded with the seal. The Seal of Biliteracy was an initiative started by Californians Together in 2008 to acknowledge and award hardworking bilingual and multilingual students. In 2011, it officially became legislation in California, and now multiple states throughout the nation have implemented a statewide Seal of Biliteracy. On January 19, 2016, New Jersey became the 15th state to implement a legislated statewide Seal of Biliteracy. The state of New Jersey is awarding participating schools the opportunity to award students with the Seal of Biliteracy. By achieving the Seal of Biliteracy, students demonstrate that they are able to speak, read, listen, and write in 2 or more languages at a high level of proficiency. The Seal of Biliteracy seeks to encourage students to study languages, certify attainment of biliteracy, provide employers with a method of identifying people with language and biliteracy skills, provide universities with a method to recognize and award academic credit to applicants seeking admission, prepare students with 21st century skills, recognize and promote second language instruction in public schools, strengthen intergroup relationships, affirm the value of diversity, and honor the multiple cultures and languages of a community. This year's awardees are, starting with Spanish, Lily Alvarez, Claire Lipkin, Valentina Aquino, Melinda Latucci, Rosalie Barron, Maya Mitchell, Olivia Brash, Leobardo Morales, Madison Chin, Olivia Morgan, Vivian Clark, Sophia Matawala, Jade Poley, Margaret Reichenberg, Sylvie Schutz, Hannah Goad, McGee Steiner, Allison Wisniewski, Joshua Lee, and Alexa Valenzuela. And for French, we have Thomas Colhane and Ethan Fisk. For German, we have Katarina Dowlin. And finally, Sophia Kraker with Italian and French. So congratulations to those students. Next, the Achieve Foundation Board of Trustees would like to join the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education and School District in recognizing Amy Foreman for her accomplishments with the Achieve Volunteer Tutor Program in the 2020-2021 school year. Amy has done a phenomenal job pivoting the program to be all virtual, gracefully accommodating varied and ever-changing tutor 2D schedules to be sure students get the help they need, personally overseeing dozens of Zoom tutoring sessions per week, which I can vouch for because I saw them, partnering with Elementors to add a social, emotional, small group component to the program, expanding the college application essay coaching program for MAC scholars, recruiting a record number of volunteers, over 500, and serving a record number of students, over 600. There has been an increased need for support this year, with more students than ever requesting tutors, and Amy has ensured that no one is left unserved. She is to be commended for her hard work and dedication. I agree. Congrats, Mom. And finally, congratulations to board member Shannon Cuddle, who received 2 distinctive honors. In May, Shannon was elected to serve as the Vice President of the Essex County School Board Association, and on June 6th, they received the #Pride Month Leadership Spotlight. Shannon Cuddle, a dedicated advocate for LGBTQ+ education and civil rights from Senator Bob Menendez. And that concludes tonight's recognitions. Congratulations.
Thank you, Senator Rep. Foreman. Before we move forward, I'd like to make a motion to hold this meeting remotely due to the state of emergency. All in favor? All right. Looks like that's unanimous. Board Secretary Del Gercio, please note that for the record. And now I will turn it over to Dr. Taylor, who will lead us through this month's retirement ceremony, this year's retirement ceremony. Thank you.
Mr. President, just one quick question. We have not done the minutes or your president's statement. Do you want to save those until after my update?
Yes, but let me note it down that I need to go back and do it.
Duly noted. Thank you. Before we go to our retirees, on this Saturday, June the 12th, Columbia High School held a vigil and memorial event for Musa Fofana. Several hundred community members attended in support of Musa and his family. Mayor McGehee and Principal Sanchez led this event. I hope that I can speak for all who were in attendance in saying that while students and staff members spoke lovingly about Musa and a moving tribute, our community is still experiencing an indescribable heartache of this truly tragic, senseless loss of this young man and the light he brought to his friends, family, and loved ones. In recognition of our community's palpable mourning and also in celebration of Musa's life, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. I know it's an awkward transition, but it would not be right for us to not, pay tribute to this young man and his family. So to our retirees, we are, of course, still at the, hopefully, fingers crossed, at the end of COVID, but we understand why we are still in a virtual circumstance. But we did not let that stop us from giving you the honor and flowers that you deserve for all of your years of service to our district. Board members, we have 31 retirees we're honoring this year. And combined, they have more than 600 years of service to our district. So can we just give them a large round of air applause? Thank you so much for your service. The generations and hundreds of students that you've touched is immeasurable. Mr. Bonds can work just so much magic with these screens, but the one thing that he can't do in WebEx is play music under our tributes. So I volunteered to sing, but for some reason the SLT told me that they didn't need me to do that. However, we will play for you a brief tribute. Mr. Bonds.
Wow, she left too.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bonds. And for, can we give him a round of applause, please? Thank you so much for your service to our district. And I saw when we first joined, there were so many smiles exchanged from board members and members of our team who had personal relationships with these fantastic people. So we're going to put, we do have music that plays under that makes it much more touching, and it'll be available on our website and also on our YouTube channel. But we also wanted to take this moment to allow for any of our retirees who would like to say a few words to have the opportunity to do so. So because there's so many folks on my screen, I can't see everyone. So to our retirees, this is your last teaching assignment, right? You have to stay muted until you sense that it's your moment to unmute and address the community and the board and myself with whatever you would like to share, in, for your reflection of your service in our district. You don't have to say anything at all. Your work is also spoken for yourself, but you deserve this moment. So if you would like to share anything, please feel free to do so.
This is Desiree.
Oh, okay.
No, go ahead, Adriana.
Hey, how's everyone? so very exciting to be here. Thank you. I'm honored to be retiring with some of my colleagues. Campbell, we did it together after all, huh? We would keep talking about this. Doc, excellent. Thank you so much. It's been awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Desiree Spriggs, and I would like to, first of all, give condolences to all of us who were touched by Musa Fofana. He was a very special, special young man, and his death is senseless. That aside, I had many, many joys teaching in the South Orange Maplewood School District, and they will carry me forever as I retire on an island 30 miles out to sea. So thank you for the experience and the children, and they've all walked through. Stars have come out of Maplewood Middle School. Criminals have come out of Maplewood Middle School. Artists have come out of Maplewood Middle School. The gamut. We really, as educators, we see every facet of life, and it's an amazing blessing to experience. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, hi, this is John Campbell from Columbia High School. I just want to thank the entire community for this magnificent opportunity. I tell people I never had a day I wasn't glad to go to work. And then I also say, to find something you love to do, you never do go to work. And that's what I felt at Columbia. The support from colleagues, administrators, from parents, community, and the incredible joy I got working with the students in the district made it all so delightful. And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity.
I just wanted to say that I will always be filled with the utmost gratitude for the amazing opportunity to work at Clinton Elementary School. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I will miss all of you very much.
So as a teacher, I'm using my wait time here. I'm giving our folks a chance to think about it. If you have something that you'd like to say, we would love to hear from you. No pressure, though. Well, listen, thank you so much for your service. On behalf of our board and our administration, we truly, truly thank you for all that you've done for our students and our families and our community. And as educators, anybody who works in schools is an educator, right? Whether you're in the main office, if you're a custodian, if you're in the cafeteria, you are an educator. You're touching children's lives every day, and you never know which interaction changed someone's life. That's the true pension that we get as educators. So just know that as you walk away from this screen, I hope you're smiling, and we'll send you the link with the video and with the music under it and all that good stuff, and we'll post it. And I also want to thank on each of those slides, your former administrators took time to reflect on your service and their experiences with you personally. So again, thank you so much. We wish you a great retirement. If after a couple of years you want to come back and be a substitute teacher or something, we would love to have you. We always have a great need for fantastic subs, and Bodner, she liked that one because she knows that we really do. And we wish you all very well. To our board president and board VPs, anything to share before we let our retirees go?
You are in the South Orange Maplewood area, stay dry. The rain has just started picking up here. And once again, as Dr. Taylor said, on behalf of the board, thank you all for your service to our students. and to each other over the years. We know there are times when you have to support each other as well as support our students during good times and bad. So we wish you wonderful retirements all, and thank you again for your service.
Thank you.
Can I also say that I had the privilege of working with a number of the retirees, and I thank them for their service and their time in the district, and I wish them the greatest luck in the future moving forward.
Awesome, awesome. Keith, can we take a screenshot of everyone smiling? I know that you have the big screen over there. You can probably get everyone on there. Just for posterity's sake in the public record.
Sure. Give me 1 second. I might have to take a couple of screenshots.
Yeah, I
And
don't
while
know if we
Keith
could all
is
fit
doing-
on one.
While Keith is doing that, I want to wish all of my former colleagues the best. Let me tell you, you're coming into the best time of your life. And enjoy it immensely. No one else to answer to, nothing to hold you back from doing whatever it is that you'd like to do. So congratulations. Our kids are going to miss you. We're going to miss you. But listen, live life to the fullest. This is it. Fourth quarter, people.
Thank you, Johanna.
Any other board members before we take our screenshot here? Feel free.
Okay. I'm going to do
All right.
it in 2 components. So when I say 3, just smile, and then I'll tell you again. All right. 1, 2, 3. Keep smiling, please. Now let's try that one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's 1. And then give me 1 second. We'll do 1 more. Okay. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. That looks great. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Keith. And
Thank
thank you
you.
to our HR department and
Thank
Ms.
you and
Robinson
good
and our
night.
team. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
All right. Are all of our retirees
I
off the
see
screen?
one more, Kathy Shelfo.
Okay.
I'll move her over to a panelist.
Okay,
Thank you.
and I got one
Awesome.
more, sorry. Elizabeth Frischella.
Okay. Attendee. There you go.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bonds. And again, I'm not sure if anyone heard that at the end. Thank you to Ms. Robinson and the HR team for going the extra mile, calling everyone and calling all the admin, giving those comments and pictures. Thank you so much. I hope it meant a lot to our retirees. Board President, the next thing on our agenda is just an update on the fall reopening. Is it okay if I go right into that?
Go right ahead.
All right, thank you. So before we give this update, I'd just like to recognize all the students, staff members, and volunteers who contributed to the production of Matilda. It was 15 months ago that we had the agony of canceling the in-person production of Matilda. I had the pleasure of visiting a dress rehearsal pre-COVID and seeing up close and personal the effort and the joy behind the scenes, the costumes and set design, the lights and the singing and acting. It was a whirlwind of excitement during that visit. I believe it was last February. To see this now come to fruition yesterday at Flood's Hill was a joyous occasion. Not just the show, but our community was on an expansive landscape by the hundreds. It had to be at least 600 or 700 people out there who attended. And this is the last night of the show. They were on their lawn chairs and on their blankets and enjoying our students' labor of love. Thank you again to all who made this resurrection possible, right? It was great to run into familiar faces. Some folks still wearing their masks, which is okay, even though we were outside. I even got a chance to meet our student board rep Foreman for the first time in person since February. So it was such a festive feeling, and I couldn't help but think that maybe Floods Hill could be a future home to other productions. So on to our update. This is a brief update to our planning. We understand that a board meeting does not always allow for the space for a nuanced, deep discussion with Q&A, et cetera. So after discussing with our board's executive committee, we are using multiple platforms to inform our community of what to expect in the fall. Thank you to the more than 300 parents and community members who offered their thoughts and insights on reopening for the fall, utilizing our Google survey that was issued last week. The language in that survey was lifted directly from the state template for reopening. Your responses are being disseminated to our task force leaders. The fall reopening task force is working on the granular details regarding the fall. As we have stated many times, our goal is to open with as close to a normal pre-COVID opening as possible. This includes a normal in-person academic schedule with lunches and snacks and those things. And to accomplish this lofty goal, right? Our task force is broken down into subcommittees that focus on a particular topic that we deem crucial for reopening. They include a subcommittee on curriculum instruction, a subcommittee on health and wellness, a subcommittee on staffing, a subcommittee on daily operations and lunch, and also a subcommittee on communications. Just to reiterate, for those who may not have kept up with some of the news that's been coming out fast and furious from our governor's recent updates, they've greatly assisted in our planning. With our statewide health emergency concluding, we now have the ability to have far less restrictions on our space and program as of right now. As recently as today, just today, our county superintendent's office reiterated and confirmed to all districts in our county that virtual learning is not permissible unless we are in a declared public health emergency. Now that statement feels clear and it feels firm, but it does generate more questions, right? For example, suppose there is a positive case and we have to quarantine. Are we then permitted to use virtual learning? It's not a public health emergency, but perhaps the local health department can make that a small health emergency for that particular school. Those are some of the guiding questions that we're using in our task force. We're also understanding how hybrid learning and the mitigation efforts that we put in place for COVID have impacted so many facets of our daily operations. Our task force is being driven by the need to answer essential questions. And here are a few examples of some of our essential questions. For CNI, how do we support all students academically after a year or so of virtual learning or hybrid learning for some? Here's another one from CNI. How can we ensure that the particular academic needs of each district subgroup are met? And here's an important one that I've heard from some of our families. What best practices can we continue post-pandemic? Do we want our schools to look and operate exactly as they did pre-pandemic, or have we learned some great things during this stressful time that can be applied even post-pandemic? Here's some other guiding questions from other subcommittees. Is COVID testing going to be necessary for grade levels that aren't yet able to get vaccinated in September? How can we support testing for COVID for those particular grades, or should it be a larger subset of testing? How can we put accountability measures in place to ensure adherence to whatever COVID guidelines exist at that time, right? We can't give the exact same agreements for return that we already have because COVID will most likely look different in the fall. Here's some more updates from our daily operations and lunch subcommittee. How will our instructional schedule be impacted with attempts to return to regular lunch periods? For those who have students already in elementary schools, you are aware that we probably couldn't have lunches earlier in the day to make the capacity smaller. Another question spoke about with our pending construction at many of our sites, it will be difficult for us to have tents outside of our schools, for example. How do you address lunch in those scenarios? So there are many guiding questions that are assisting us in this work. We are connecting our research and the answers to these questions with our other guiding principles around access and equity and connecting them to ESSER grant funding. We'll be sharing more of the finalized detailed view of our reopening plan, and not just the template that the state has shared, but a more granular review in the upcoming webinar where we'll answer many more questions around what we think and what we're planning for fall to look like. Mr. President, that concludes my updates.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Excuse me. All right, so just to catch up quickly, I would like to make a motion for the minutes. We've got 5/17's special meeting minutes, 5/10's meeting minutes, as long as the third. There's one correction that I just sent over to the business office to adjust. Any other questions on the minutes? Okay, those are accepted.
I'm sorry. I wanted to ask Dr. Taylor, are we required to submit the plan to the county office, and what's the due date on that if we are?
So the requirements of the reopening template that we received on May 24th is that it's due to be placed on our website and I think submitted through eWig on June 24th.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let me read the present statement and then I'm going to go into, excuse me, my report. Okay, give me 1 second here.
Excuse me,
Okay.
Board President, we didn't motion the minutes.
Right.
I thought we just did. But we started to, I guess. Okay. Can motion for the minutes, all in favor? All right. That was unanimous, Ms. Delgado. Thank you. Okay, the school board meeting is a business meeting in public and not a meeting with the public. Oftentimes, it may appear to members of our audience that the Board of Education takes action with very little comment, and in many cases, a unanimous vote. Before a matter is placed on the agenda at a public meeting, the administration has thoroughly reviewed the matter with superintendent. If the superintendent is satisfied that the matter is ready to be presented to the Board of Education, it is then referred to the appropriate board committee. Members of the board committee work with administration and superintendent to ensure members fully understand the matter. After the committee discusses the matter, it is presented to the full board for discussion before any action is taken. And only then is it placed on the agenda for action at a public meeting. All right, now let me pull up my report. Just give me a second here. Okay. Good evening. The South Orange Maplewood Board of Education was saddened to learn of the tragedy last week at Underhill Field. We continue to keep families of both victims in our thoughts and our prayers during this very difficult time. Everyone deals with a sudden loss in their own way, and the board fully supports the district's efforts to provide counseling for students and staff who are dealing with this tragic situation. Anyone who attended Saturday's vigil heard stories of a young man with a big smile, a warm heart, and a wonderful sense of humor. We also heard calls for justice, and the Board of Education echoes those sentiments. The South Orange Maplewood Board of Education has a vacancy, which will be filled by appointment by the remaining members of the board at a public meeting on July 12, 2021 at 7 p.m. We anticipate meeting in person in some capacity that day, and more details will be announced as they become available. The person appointed by the board will become a full member of the board and serve in that position through the end of the term, which is set to expire December 31st, 2021. Anyone interested in applying must submit a letter of interest, a resume, and any other available information in a form that will assist the Board of Education in making a decision on that appointment. Those materials can be mailed to our board secretary, Andrea Del Gershio, care of the South Orange Maplewood Board of Education at 525 Academy Street, or emailed to board vacancy, that's BOARDVACANCY, one word, or no spaces, excuse me, at somsd.k12.nj.us. And please put board vacancy application in the subject line. The deadline for receiving those materials is 5 p.m. on July 7th. Please note that all legally qualified applicants will be interviewed during the July 12th meeting. More information on legal qualifications, interview process is available on the district website under news and announcements. The person selected to fill the vacancy will then have to undergo a full criminal background check within 30-day calendar days of appointment. If that doesn't interest you, the deadline to file a petition for the next school board election is July 26th at 4 p.m. Information for running can be found on the Essex County Clerk's Office website. The election is held in Election Day in November, which this year is Tuesday, November 2nd. In other news, the board will be beginning the superintendent evaluation process this week during a series of special sessions, and we'll have a retreat in July. We will also have a retreat in July that will cover the board's self-evaluation. Also for this evening, please note, Board Member Malaspina will not be participating in the vote on Resolution 4160D, which is related to Policy 8110, and any potential discussion on Policy 5124. Both policies are related to the district's integration plan. The plan is noted in paragraph 4 of the settlement agreement and is therefore a matter related to the litigation. Now I will turn it over to our student representative, Lily Foreman, for the student rep report.
Thank you. Students have been mourning the loss of friend, classmate, and teammate Musa Fofana. Over the past week, and especially at Saturday evening's vigil, as Board President Joshua stated, we've heard about how caring, funny, motivated, and truly inspirational he was through the words of those who knew and loved him. As his first teacher, Miss Simpson, told attendees on Saturday, Musa was, quote, spunky, charming, curious, kind, appreciative, and brilliant in his insight into how people ticked and his ability to form human connections. For anyone who hasn't done so already, please consider making a donation to the Fofana family through GoFundMe. CHS administrators, teachers, and counselors have been focused on supporting students through this devastating time. Students have had opportunities to speak with school counselors and specialists from the Center for Traumatic Loss, both in person and virtually. We've also been informed of ways to support the Fofana family, from donations to writing messages to the family to attending the vigil. This support for students will remain throughout the summer and into next school year, as our community continues to feel the gravity of this loss. At Saturday night's vigil, Mayor McGeehee said that one way we can honor Musa's life is, quote, by pursuing our dreams and doing so with excellence, by loving, by being kind to each other, and by being in community with each other. The past few weeks at Columbia have exemplified that very spirit. From the Hall of Fame induction ceremony celebrating alumni Eric Hudson and Marquez Brownlee, to the varsity boys Frisbee team's win at the state championship after an undefeated season, to the 4 shows of Matilda at Flood's Hill this past weekend, to the CHS Infinite Step team's performance at the Step Nationals in Newark. So congratulations to all those students who participated in these events. As this school year comes to a close, seniors are looking forward to the traditions that come with graduation, including the elementary school clap out, Midnight Madness, and prom. Just as a reminder, financial assistance is available for all these events. Students and their families can reach out to their guidance counselors or Ms. Hernandez in the main office for more information. Senior accomplishments were also highlighted at a virtual senior recognition night in early June, along with Lavender Graduation, a night honoring LGBTQ+ students from the classes of 2020 and 2021. As we prepare for the next school year, student council elections are taking place this week, which includes the election of the next student rep to the board as well as the alternate. Looking towards the summer, I'm grateful that the board voted to approve the creation of a task force to protect students from sexual harassment and violence. I was also pleased to hear that student voices will be included in this task force and in these conversations, and I'm looking forward to the changes that will come from their work to make our district a more safe and welcoming space for all its students. Lastly, I want to thank the board, Dr. Taylor, Mr. Sanchez, everyone in central office, the many parents and teachers who take an active interest in the board's work, and my fellow students, especially Jakai, the alternate student rep, for making my past 2 years as student representative so fulfilling. While I'm sad to be leaving this role in the district, and though our district definitely has work to do, I'm so grateful to have grown up and served this role in a school environment that values student voice and is always striving to become better. There are more than 8 students running to hold the position next year, and the fact that so many students are interested in the board's work and in changing our district for the better makes me so excited for SOMSD's future. After getting to meet all of them, I know that they are all qualified and will all be a strong voice for students. I know that with their help, the board will continue to move forward on the issues that matter most, and I can't wait to see the work that they'll do. Thank you.
We're now at the time for our first hearings of individuals and delegates, also known as public speaks. This is an opportunity for you to share your concerns about an item on the agenda, but is not in time for dialogue with the board. The board requests that you state your name and the town of your residence for the record. We will set the time to 3 minutes for each speaker, and we ask that you respect that time limit. We must cut you off so it does not appear as if we are giving anyone an advantage to share their views over another individual. Speakers have the full protection of free speech during public speaks. However, this forum does not protect you from the subject of your free speech pursuing libel or standard charges. Finally, the board recommends that all members of our community follow the chain and pursue the chain of command. Our first, we will, as usual, we'll start with the audio public speaks and then move over to the ones who submitted a form. Our first audio public speaks is from Raven Enright Howlett. Is
Hello?
Raven on?
Hello?
Hi, Raven, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Raven Enright Howlett, and I live in Maplewood. What I want to speak about today is basically a proposition to learn more about LGBTQ+ history in school. I think that LGBTQ+ history has had a massive effect on, well, history and modern day society, yet we still don't learn about it in school. Plus, 8.1% of all American adults are part of the LGBTQ+ community, and that's only adults. So I think it is important for us to learn about this history, like any other thing. Also, and part of this, I think we should learn about things that happened, such as the Stonewall riots, which had a massive impact on LGBTQ+ rights and everything like that. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Raven. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to our written comments. And our first written comment comes from Peter Brown of South Orange. The current pre-K application and enrollment process lacks equity, transparency, and eliminates any opportunity for parent choice. Pre-K sites may use the same curriculum, but the staff, facilities, and environment vary widely. Example, Montrose Elementary is a well-furnished school building and an expansive playground surrounded by trees and residential, in contrast with the Le Petit Academy, which is a windowless building on a busy street in a commercial zone next to an auto shop. Why don't parents have opportunity to indicate preferences for schools? Pre-K is the first school experience outside the home for many children. Parents should be able to have a voice in selecting a school that is right for their child or family. If choice is not included in the application process, at a minimum, a waitlist option for school of choice should be possible. Many families are uncomfortable with putting a 3-year-old on a school bus when assigned to a location farther from their homes. And personally transporting a child to a school 2 miles away, over 2 miles away from home may not be feasible. This is an issue of both safety on the bus for children at such a young age and equity in the unfair choice that it places on families to accept a distant placement and put child on a bus or transport children themselves at a cost with significant disruption and burden to families. We would like to hear what will be done to increase equity, parent choice, and transparency in the pre-K process for this 21-22 school year and for future years. Again, that is from Peter Brown for South Orange. And that concludes our first public speaks for this evening. Dr. Taylor, do you care to respond?
Yes, Mr. President, I would. First, thank you to both Raven and Mr. Brown, I believe, for taking time out of your evening to send the board and myself and our administration your concerns. For those who don't normally attend these meetings, we do take copious notes of each public speaks opportunity, and I try to respond with some background to each of the comments. So I'll start with Raven's comment. First, thank you again, Raven, for sharing your advocacy, that we are sure that our curriculum is updated and reflects LGBTQ+ history. I can tell you that we've had a lot of great conversations around that, and I know that that we've been waiting for an update from the state regarding that, and that Dr. Friedman and Wagner, who are the leads for our curriculum and instruction team, have been working tirelessly on making sure that our curriculum not only represents our community, but also is worthy of our community. So there will be some more detailed updates about that. But I think that we have your personal email on your public speak. So I would like to send you a very personalized, specific update about what our plans are. Regarding the pre-K sites and that they vary widely, one thing that I can share about that is we are very pleased that we're able to provide free pre-K opportunities for all of our families this year through the PIA grant. For those who may not be aware of what that means that we're able to connect with providers outside of our district to give opportunities for students to receive pre-K3 and pre-K4 education. There are very stringent, very stringent rules of compliance when it comes to these sites. They have to meet the same compliance standards as school districts. They are a part of our school district. They're just not in the physical building of Montrose. We do understand the comments that were made and having a preference of which site that you would attend. I can tell you in previous years, when our number of requests was greater than our number of seats, we did have to go to a lottery process for assigning those seats. And again, we can provide more information, but that is, those are, the facts regarding our pre-K assignment. And again, it's based on the selection of pre-K sites via a very stringent process from the Department of Early Childhood, which is within the New Jersey Department of Education. But of course, if you have a specific concern about a site, you can raise it to our attention and we can review the approval process that that site went through. Mr. President, that concludes my responses.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. We'll now move on to the committee report discussion. We'll go alphabetical order by committee again. So we'll start with CNI, curriculum instruction, and then finance, personnel, and then policy. So board member Siders, over to you.
Hello. The CNI committee met on June 8th. We had board member Wright substituting in for board member Malcino, who had a conflict. We started out with an overview of the Seesaw application, and that overview was provided by Dr. Beanfolk and Ms. Imperato, who I believe is a teacher at Seth Boyden. They provided a demo of the application and described how it is used in the classroom. We noted that most teachers are using the free access version of the application. A few teachers were using it pre-COVID and had purchased it on their own, but there's still a number of teachers who are using the free access version, of which at some point, unless we purchase a license for Seesaw, they will be losing all the work that they put into it. Seesaw will be presented to the board for approval in July, and the district is looking to have the vendor provide some official teacher training on the platform. We have two curriculum coming up for approval tonight. One is Caribbean Studies, the other is Computer Graphics 2. Both are new courses at Columbia High School. Mr. Preston, the superintendent of social studies, did provide a presentation on Caribbean Studies. He noted that right now the class has enough students enrolled that there will be one class in each semester, and that the Columbia High School teacher who created the curriculum worked with a visiting professor of Latin American and Caribbean Studies at Brown University to help develop it. We also have Principal Sanchez attend our meeting to provide an update on the Code of Conduct revisions. Currently, he's working with CHS assistant principals, and the work is to include restorative justice into the Code of Conduct. They want to make sure that the new version includes sexual harassment and tobacco substance abuse as part of it. It will also include what was described as a sexual assault flow chart, and in a way to inform students of what happens, what should be the steps if they feel that they've had a sexual harassment or sexual assault incident, you know, where to go, who to talk to, and also informing students of their confidentiality rights. The Code of Conduct would also include the recent marijuana legalization, and it will also include vapes and e-cigarettes in terms of how students should be treating these objects and what the repercussions are if they are used. I believe Principal Sanchez said the new Code of Conduct will be rolled out in August, and that's the 2021 version of the Code of Conduct. Board member did have questions about, are there areas that would have been punitive that are now addressed restoratively? The response was yes, that before this Code of Conduct version that's being currently worked on, there were no restorative strategies, and that we are collecting data that can be used to compare number of suspensions year over year. And we not only need to make sure that not only infractions data is collected, but also outcomes. We also had Dr. Friedman Ms. Bodnar, Mr. Wooler, Principal Sanchez give an update on the summer programming. There is a presentation out on the CNI Drive if board members would like to review it. The overview included programs that the district has been using in the past, along with some new items such as, I believe there's a book club and there's also a new STEM program for the summer. Tonight for policies, we have one up for first read. It is 241505, student surveys, analysis, and/or evaluations. There are just some minor edits to that policy based on some recent changes at the DOE level. For special services, ESY will be running from July 6th to August 13th. Montrose will be the site for pre-K, South Mountain and the Annex for K to 4, Maplewood Middle for 5 to 12. There will be an orientation on June 22nd. And right now there are 50 preschool students, 125 elementary, and 15 secondary students signed up. There's also going to be summer professional development provided to teachers. One will be a co-teacher training, I believe it's June 28th and 29th. There will also be evidence-based reading and Orton Gillingham training that I believe is in the financials up for approval tonight. And from what I understand, this is in relation to some training that the district purchased a few years ago, but didn't get the chance to provide it. So the next step is to be able to provide that actual training for the evidence-based reading in Norton Gillingham. And I think that is it.
Thank you. I just want to clarify one thing. You said Board Member Malaspina had a conflict. I presume you mean a schedule conflict. I just want to be clear
Yes,
about that.
yes, a scheduled conflict.
It was my
Just-
son's 18th birthday. I hope
Yeah.
that counts
That,
as
that
an
most-
okay conflict.
that, it's never any of our business, but that most certainly counts. I
Well,
just wanted
yes.
to be clear about that.
I will be honest, it was his 18th birthday, and I,
One
figured I
new
would
role.
go out to dinner with him.
Sure. One new voter to the rolls. Sounds wonderful. Any questions for Board Member Siders? Board Member Manny, go ahead.
Aaron, Board Member Siders, was there discussion about the personal finance course that had a whole bunch of issues the past few years? The version we were using for the online independent study for the summer, was that revised? Have we not renewed that contract?
I don't recall that being one of the programs. Dr. Friedman, Ms. Bodnar, do you recall?
No, that was not discussed, and I just took notes on that. I'm going to check with Mr. Preston this evening to see where we are with that.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Freeman, personal finance is not under Mr. Preston,
Okay.
just so you
Go
know.
ahead, Board Member Malaspina, please,
Sorry.
just go ahead.
Sorry, it is not under, it's not under Mr. Preston, it's under Mr. Manow. And I will also say that it was problematic, as Ms. Meany stated, because we had issues when my son took it, and other parents I know also had issues with it.
Okay, very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Malaspina. Any other questions for Board Member Siders on the CNI report?
I have a couple of comments.
Go ahead, Board Member.
I really enjoyed my time with the CNI committee. They love one another a great deal. They love spending a lot of time together. But at any rate, we've sat all year talking about the GAP students of color experience, but nothing has been planned by CNI regarding implicit bias. And again, this should not be for one person to do. I think it's a combination of people, but with no PD for implicit bias, you know, there's nothing on the books for next year. So I think we need to do something about that. And C&I need to have an equity lens in order for us to move on. And there are a few other things, but I'm gonna, you know, just really concerned about that.
Thank you, Board Member Wright. Board Member Siders?
We didn't get into detail at the last CNI meeting, but there is, I believe it's going to be brought forth in July. There's a consultant, I think the name is Fidelity or Fidelity, that did have a presentation at, I guess, the May CNI meeting. And I think board members were really impressed with that presentation. It was around social emotional learning, but it did have an equity lens to that. I believe also that we're looking at some other consultants as well, or that we're going to be putting together an RFP for other consultants to do that work. So we didn't get into detail, but it's something that's coming, and we're looking forward for June, I believe, to have a deeper conversation.
Thank you,
That is
Dr.
correct.
Taylor. Did you want to add
July.
anything else to that?
It's July, not June.
Did you want to add, Dr. Taylor?
I was going to just chime in on top of Chair Sider's comments. Board members who were in the last CNI meeting, we had a presenter who talked about restorative practices and restorative justice and how that topic could be expanded to include some of the topics that Board Member Wright brought up. And also don't forget, board members, that part of your budget process was approving funds earmarked for a group such as Equal Opportunity Schools, right? We've been having conversations with them, and I put some of that in your daily updates. So you are 100% correct, Chair Siders.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to Finance and Board Member Wright.
Yeah, I guess I was a little confused. I thought I heard a proposal was to address it in year 2. So, you know, maybe I was wrong. But anyway, getting on to the finance. Oops, I turned myself off again. I'm gonna leave that alone.
We can hear you. Keep going.
Okay, great. We talked about Seth Boyden, the kindergarten classes. Due to construction, we have, in our last report, we talked about the kindergarten classes that would need to be relocated. The choice for the relocation has been the Seth Boyden Library for these 2 kindergarten classes. And so now the materials in the library will be located in carts and shelving in the hallways. Doesn't sound like the best situation, but that's what's happening. We also talked about asbestos abatement at Clinton and Jefferson because the bids are opened on June 10th, and the award will happen at the next board meeting. And I think that's the July meeting, maybe. The board also requested a timeline for construction projects as requested in a communication. It should be prepared for the community regarding the projects that we're about to embark on. Also, the district did receive approval for South Mountain and the annex projects, the field improvements we talked about for Underhill Field. Representatives from the architects and the district met at Underhill Field to discuss the project and issues to be resolved as part of the renovations, and I'm sure we're all excited about that. We also talked about our renewed contracts with the food service and the custodial. We also talked about asbestos removal and the discussion regarding the bidding. Our bidding for 21 and 22 for our buses, for our educational routes. It seems that we'll be using the Sussex Cooperative. And they're opening bidding soon, maybe tomorrow or the next day. But the discussion around the Seth Boyden shuttle as well for the high school students, the high school shuttle. So we're going to meet with the township representatives to determine if the township can provide services and to help us to establish a central bus stops for the students. And lastly, we talked about our technology and our E-rate. We discussed additional programming that would be made available to the district to help support the purchase of additional equipment. This summer, the replacement of infrastructure will happen with the help of E-rating funding. So that's awesome. Also, softball inventory. We discussed the progress of developing a list of all of the ed tech software used throughout the district. And Mr. Barnes is going to be working really, really hard on that. And also we talked about laptops for teachers to issue to those who need replacements for laptops. And with new business, we talked about the use of outside, the fields by outside teams and for the summer use. And so we'll set up a meeting with the athletic director to discuss a little bit more on the possibilities. And we'll possibly have resolutions for grants submitted very soon. And that's it for the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one quick one, Ms. Wright. The asbestos is on tonight's agenda for Clinton and Jefferson. So
awesome.
Yes, exactly. Okay, let me, Dr. Taylor, and then Board Member Malaspina.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Ms. Wright, for that really a comprehensive update. It was a great meeting. If it's okay, I can offer a couple of the latest updates based on just the week that has passed. You know, we're a very dynamic district. And so for the FFT chair and the board and the community at large, unfortunately, the township was not able to help us with that transportation. We had a great conversation with them, but they're having some challenges around staffing and around the buses that are available, those jitneys. And so we've taken the next step now. We worked with our police department to identify stops in Seth Boyden that make the most sense to be hubs for students who attend Columbia High School rising for next year, and who live in that Seth Boyden zone. And so our supervisor of transportation has visited those sites that the police chief recommended and verified that they were indeed okay and safe and you know, within you know, all of the different challenges that we have to do when we build bus routes. And so we're happy to say that we're well on our way to building that shuttle route. We're going to also survey the 105 families who meet that criteria to ascertain if they have an interest in traveling that shuttle. Then we're going to schedule them accordingly. It may be multiple shuttle in the morning. I just wanted to give that update to Chair Wright and the rest of the board.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you. Board Member Malaspina.
I have two questions now because Dr. Taylor just gave me another one. So I'll ask Dr. Taylor first, to Dr. Taylor, about what you just stated. The Seth Boyden one, that the shuttle's also in the afternoon, I'm assuming. You mentioned morning, but I'm assuming it's going to also go in the afternoon.
Yes, and so that's going to be part of our surveying, right? Because we know high school kids are so dynamic. I might need it in the morning, I might not need it because I'm involved in some kind of after school activity or something like that. And so we want to make sure that we customize it as much as we can. But yes, it'll run both times, and we'll be measuring, trying to, right now, one cluster of students, about 70 or so, live in one part of the zone, and about 30 live in the other part of the zone. So one part might get 2 shuttle buses that run. So, you know, there's some organizational stuff that we're working through.
Okay, and I guess the second question is, I guess for maybe Miss Wright, I was rather upset to hear that we are going to be using the Seth Boyden Library as the overflow place for the kindergartners, especially because now we have inequities in our libraries, and me being the librarian, you know, I have to push for our children to have access to libraries at all times, and it's upsetting to hear that. But my question is, Ms. Wright, was there any discussion as to if other schools would also, that we are doing work in, would be using the libraries as the place for classroom spaces?
I do believe South, I can't remember the school. Maybe someone can help me, but yes.
Can I help you, board member Wright? I think we talked about what happened at South Mountain in the past and how the library was supposed to be a temporary solution to overcrowding, and the population bubble just kept bubbling. And so we wanted to make sure that we stress to Seth Boyden families and to the community that this is actually temporary, right? And that we're building additional classroom space, and that, you know, this library fix for this year is a truly temporary fix, and when it's not going to be what happened at South Mountain before I got here.
Yes, South Mountain. And I understand what you're saying, Ms. Malaspina. I go all the way back when they tried to get rid of librarians and fought that, because we know when you want to destroy education, you begin in libraries. We know from history that's what that means. And of all the schools to come up with a plan to remove children from the library, Seth Boyden is not the most ideal situation. I'm having issues and difficulties with that as well, but I don't know where else we can place these students, and maybe somebody can come up with some type of idea, but I hope that it doesn't stop the students from receiving books and the care that they need. Miss Guida is an excellent librarian over at Seth Boyden. I know of her work from South Orange Middle School, and when she moved into Seth Boyden, I know she's going to do the best that she can do to make sure that our children are serviced properly and appropriately. At least I know she'll be strong enough to ask for help if she needs it.
Thank you. Hold on. Sorry, board member Malaspina, see board member Cuddle's hand, but I guess Dr. Taylor wants to add additional.
I'm sorry,
color
President
first.
Joshua, I believe Student Rep Foreman has had a hand up in the chat and for a while, and I don't know if that was relevant.
Sorry, I think that must have been an accident. Sorry about
that.
that.
All right. So do you have a question, board member Cuddle? You're just raising for Student Rep Foreman.
I was raising that for Student Rep. I do have a question, but I will wait till after Dr. Taylor. Thank you.
Dr. Taylor, board member Cuddle, and then back to board member Malaspina.
Thank you. And just for the board members' understanding, and folks from the public who are watching, there were a lot of folks involved with trying to vet possibilities to this concern. Our construction manager and our school business admin walked the building and saw that there would be more than likely a mid-year pushing through the walls, right, needed. So the options were to leave students in there until mid-year and then shift them out, which of course would be disruptive. And also, you know, as a former kindergarten teacher, having a bunch of construction happening outside the window of a kindergarten class probably isn't the best thing for the students to focus in on their learning environment anyway. And so we went room by room, literally throughout the basement and first floor, looking at options, talking about taking down walls in other spaces, right? Because we do have some office space that used to be kindergarten space. And we went through all of those scenarios with the principal. Dr. Allegri was very helpful, as well as Mr. Garcia. So this was not a singular directive. Know that there was a lot of thought put into this, and that library space is beautiful, and it will allow for us to easily place a wall in between to make those two classes very comfortable. And of course, it's not something that we are loving that we have to do. In a library, we all value literacy. So we're going to also invest in making sure that that library is very functional for the school population. So we can give that context.
Thank you. Board member Cuddle.
Thank you, President Joshua. I just wanted to lay additional context during the conversation that it was expressed that this was looking at many options, that this was the option for right now, but it was not. The impetus was that this was going to be stressed from the board that this was not wanting to be a permanent solution with books on carts. And we also discussed the use of the Maplewood Library and the impacts in the South Orange Library and access to students and families, including finding additional supports in bandwidth and collaboration with our local libraries as well, for additional materials, even including when the Maplewood Library plans its construction that may or may not impede when Seth Boyden's during construction. So I just want to comment that there was a robust conversation ensuring that books and materials and access points were talked about and making sure that our families had the resources they need.
And to answer your question, Ms. Malaspina, I really don't know if this is going to, if the construction will in the future affect other classrooms across the district and other school buildings. We just don't know at this point.
Thank you, Ms.
Malaspina.
That was sort of my question, which didn't sort of get answered, was, is this going to impact other libraries in the future during construction?
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions for Board Member Wright? All right, thank you. We will now move on to personnel with Board Member Mann.
Right. Let me just pull up my notes. Sorry. The entire committee met with administration earlier this month. I wanted to thank Ms. Robinson and her HR team for preparing the retirees recognition. I do hope that we can return to in-person celebration of the staff that have served our community in the near future. The committee reviewed most of the personnel resolutions that are on the agenda for this evening's meeting. You'll see one of our resignations is from a staff member who has been recruited by Teachers College to work with them based on the incredible work she has done in our district. You will also see that we are reappointing interim business administrator Ms. Del Gercio and interim director of athletics Mr. Mullen until permanent placements can be recruited and appointed. For the business administrator position, the administration shared the interview process to date with all board members. This is a particularly difficult position to fill this year as many districts are searching for a business administrator. And given the year business administrators have had, there aren't a lot of professionals willing to serve in the interim role either. We also need to recognize that very large districts offer candidates lots of experience that will serve our community, even if they served as an interim business administrator, whereas some BAs in very small districts may not offer the breadth of experience, even though they have the title. In addition, this role in any organization is complex, and we are very fortunate to have a certified business administrator not only serving as our interim, but also willing to support the new business administrator. So thank you, Ms. Del Gercio, for serving. You will also see that we are approving the revised job description for the role of team leader at the middle schools. We were honored to have our two middle school principals join us to explain this revision. The main goal of the revised team leader role was to center child needs and the responsibilities, as well as to integrate our commitment to restorative practices. It was also our pleasure to have Ann Bodner join us to review the beginning of the job description for the new instructional coaches that we added to the budget this year. She's still working, or the Curriculum and Instruction Committee is still working on that job description. And the new community safety liaison role is also still being worked on. This is now a full-time role from the part-time security role that we approved during the budget as well. Administration is worked with Dr. Fergus to incorporate equity into the job description, and also how to position the job description to attract a variety of backgrounds that might meet our needs better than an ex-law enforcement personnel. We had an update from Dr. Perez regarding the residency process and the current state of that process. And the executive committee is reviewing the policy, and hopefully we can have that in place to be actionable by September. Finally, we reviewed the family leave policies, which are up for first and second read. I think first read, there's replacing a few other policies. And we thank Ms. Robinson for leading that discussion and for Board Member Bergen for championing it through policy, through the policy committee. It is still surprising to me how narrowly the federal government defines family, but hopefully that will change as well. And that is all I have to report.
Thank you, Board Member Manny. Any questions? Okay, we'll now move on to, last but not least, Policy Committee and Board Member Bergen.
Thank you. The Policy Committee met on June 9th for about an hour and a half. We are voting on one new policy or revised policy this month, 5300 automated external defibrillators. And this policy has no substantive changes to it. And tonight we're also voting to abolish 4 policies. They had a first read to be abolished last month as well. The first is 2320 independent study. Strauss Esme advised that we abolish this policy. And abolishing it will not remove the ability of students to do independent study. It'll still be in the course manual. It's just that we don't need a policy on it. 5465 early graduation. These provisions are already included in an updated 5460. 8441.1 use of defibrillators is redundant with 5300, which we are repassing tonight. And 8110 attendance areas is being abolished because it's not relevant given the elementary integration policy 5120. And we have 4 policies for first read this month, plus 2 to be abolished. The first one, Board Member Manny just mentioned, 1643 family leave addresses the updated requirements of the New Jersey Family Leave Law and the Federal Family and Medical Leave Act. It's replacing 2 policies that will be abolished when it's passed, 3431.1 medical and family leave and 4431.1 family leave, which are 2 similar policies, one for staff and one for teachers, that are being replaced by one policy. 2415.05, Board Member Siders mentioned student surveys, analysis, and evaluations. This policy addresses getting consent for students before participating in surveys and analysis funded by the Federal Department of Education. 5111, Board Member Manny just mentioned eligibility of resident and non-resident students. This policy addresses the enrollment process and residency issues. We've added a few sentences to the Strauss Esme version regarding residency checks in this first read. And 5124 internal student transfers is being revised based on our elementary integration plan. The sexual harassment policy 5751 is not on the agenda again yet because it's still undergoing review by the Title IX consultants. And we are planning to bring transportation back so the district continues to provide transportation to English language learners, hopefully first read next month. And finally, we're happy to report that the migration to Strauss Esme hosting our policies online is complete. Many thanks to Ms. Moore and Mr. Bonds for coordinating this process. So now if you go to the SOMSD website, the board policies link goes to the Strauss Esme site hosting our policies, and they are much easier to find and view in this format. It's searchable and just very easy to use and save and download. The district sent these policies to Strauss Esme in December, so the policies passed in the last 6 months are not yet up on this website, but will be added to it soon. And that is the policy update.
Thank you, Board Member Bergen. Any questions? All right, that concludes the discussion on our committee meeting minutes. We're going to now move to the action portion of the meeting. Before I make the motion, does anyone have something they'd like to? And Alyssa, I'm sorry, Board Member Mousemeat, I've already noted the 4160D, and I will move that separately.
Thank you. Can I ask for us to move, hold on one second, I'm just trying to get it, sorry. Because there's so many numbers. 41, can we sever 4163 and 4159? I don't know if you were planning to move them all together.
I was, which is why I'm asking now, so I can move everything but these. So, anyone else?
I'm sorry,
So go ahead, Joanne,
Board
go
Member
ahead.
Malaspina, can you please repeat those? I want to make sure I have them.
Sorry,
I've
my
got
bad.
4159 and 4163.
That's what I thought.
And then
Thank you.
also 4160D as in dog.
Ask what those resolutions are.
So,
Yep. 4159 is HIB and 4163 are the board goals. Anyone else? All right, I'd like to make a motion to move to discussion resolutions 4153 through 4164, with the exceptions of 4159, 4160D as in David, and 4163. May I have a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you, Board Member Manny. All in favor? All right, and Mr. Ogersha, please note for the record that that was unanimous. Okay, any comments or questions? All right, close discussion on those action items. Mr. Ogersha, can you please call the roll, this time in reverse alphabetical order?
Okay, Board Member Bergen,
Yes.
Board Member Cuddle,
Yes.
Board President Joshua,
Yes.
Board Member Manny,
Yes.
Board Member Malaspina,
yes.
Board Member Siders,
Yes.
Board Member Winkfield,
Yes.
Board Member Wright,
We can't hear you, Ms.
I'm
Wright.
sorry. What are we voting on?
Everything except 4159, 4160D, and 4163.
Yes.
okay, thank you. Everything, those resolutions pass 8-0. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion now to move 4160D. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Cuddle, I believe that was. All in favor? All right, that was unanimous, Ms. Del Garcio. This is just the abolishment of the attendance areas policy. We're just noting again separately to account for Board Member Malaspina's recusal. Any discussion or questions about this? All right, closed discussion. Mr. Ogersha, can you please call the roll? This time, reverse alphabetical order, please.
Okay. Board Member Wright,
Yes.
Board Member Winkfield,
Yes.
Board Member Siders,
Yes.
okay, Board Member Malaspina is recused, correct? Or whatever.
Correct.
Board
You can
Member
do this in
Manny-
this, yeah.
Yeah, I'll make the correct note. Okay, Board Member Manny, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Board President Joshua,
Yes.
Board Member Cuddle,
Yes.
Board Member Bergen.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Now make a motion to move 4159 and 4163 for discussion. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Board Member Manny, all in favor?
Aye.
Please note that was unanimous, Ms. Del Garcia. We're now at the discussion phase. Any questions on 4159 and 4163?
Those are the HIB and the,
Yes, Board Member Malaspina.
sorry, I'm lagging my computer. I do have concerns about the board goals. They were not done in a collaborative manner. They were given to us. Normally when goals are done, they are done in a way where we all collaborate on making goals. Instead, they were just given to us and asked for comments. So I feel like that is not the way they should be done, and I have concerns about that process.
Thank you. I guess I would just note that again, these were originally sent to the board in early April. Well, no, I'm sorry, in early May. So again, this is something that you've had for 6 weeks. You were able to collaborate. I did receive your feedback and we had discussions via email over those. So, and we took last year's goals and we revised them to account for what we had been hearing from the board in individual discussions, and then offered everyone the ability to provide comment and feedback accordingly. So, but thank you for that comment. Anything else on 4163 or 4159?
If I may comment, generally when
Go
we
ahead,
do.
Board Member Wright.
Thank you. Generally, I received the information as well. But generally when we do board goals, we generally do them together in a collaborative form where we're all sitting, working together, generally during a board retreat or something like that. I understand that the handing out of the board goals as you wanted to do, but the process is something else too. I think it's something that needs to be more of a verbiage between the board and active dialogue as versus something that's done through an email. So this was not like the best way to get that done.
Thank you, and I appreciate the feedback. Any other comments or questions on 4159 and 4163? Board Member Cottle.
In regards to 4159, I defer to Ms. Butler, but I believe that with 4159, could you give a history on the interpretation you've given before on the reason for passage?
You are muted, Board Member. Ms. Butler.
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
You have stated before the reasoning for passing resolutions for why, in your best opinion, we need to pass monthly HIB reports based upon statute and other, in your best recollection. So if since 4159 was severed, I was wondering if you could again give a reason, perhaps your opinion on the reason why this needs to be why the resolution is of importance to the board on a monthly basis.
I thought it has something to do with CUSAC, and that we need to pass it, and we're accepting the report. We're not going into the entire thing. So I thought that's what it was, but go ahead, Ms. Butler.
And excuse me, I just hit something from my computer.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, it was where I have all my documents up there. There is an obligation to report to the board each month on HIB, and I don't have I can go back to the statute if you can give me a few minutes. But the practice is that the board would then accept what the report is. You're not necessarily indicating that you are approving, you are accepting it based upon what has been represented to you by the administration about the HIB reporting. there's an obligation to present it to the board each month.
And I just note that another way to look at it is that you're acknowledging receipt, right? You're receiving the report. You're not approving it. You're not validating it. You're putting on the public record that you have received a report, from my understanding of HF.
Thank you. Any other comments on form 4159 and 4163?
Yes, President Joshua, you alluded to the CUSAC potentially requirements to that. Ms. Butler, do you want to speak to that as well?
I do not have CUSAC open, the requirements open in front of me, so I do not feel that I'm in a position to respond on that.
But I remember reading that there was a requirement that we have to accept it every month, and that, you know, not in accordance with state mandates, but all right.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't feel
That's
comfortable commenting on it.
That's fine.
Mr. President, and we will verify the DPR, and we can put it in your Friday packet or your daily update tomorrow.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Anything else on 4159 or 4163? Okay, I'm going to close discussion. I'm going to have these voted separately. So, Mr. Gershio, can you call the roll on 4159, please?
Okay, this is for resolution 4159. Board Member Bergen?
Yes.
Board Member Cuddle?
Yes, acknowledging receipt.
Board President Joshua?
Yes.
Board Member Manny?
Yes.
Okay. Board Member Siders?
Yes.
Board Member Winkfield? Are you recused?
No,
from
no, no,
that
no.
one?
She's not. She's not.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I didn't mean to do. Okay, Board Member Malaspina?
No.
Okay, I did Board Member Siders. Board Member Winkfield?
Yes.
Board Member Wright?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes 7-1.
Thank you. Now, can you please call the roll for 4163 in reverse alphabetical order?
Okay. 4163 in reverse order. Board Member Wright?
No.
Board Member Winkfield?
Yes.
Board Member Siders?
Yes.
Board Member Malaspina?
No.
Board Member Manny?
Yes.
Board President Joshua?
Yes.
Board Member Cuddle?
Yes.
Board Member Bergen?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-2. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gershio. That concludes the action portion of the meeting. We're now going to move on to our second public speaks. Mr. Bonds, I don't see any new signups for the audio portion. Just gonna confirm that. I don't see you, but I know you're around. And then, so then I'm now going to move on to the written comments, and I do see one here. So I'm going to go into that one. This written comment is from Abigail Murtaugh of Maplewood. Will the district share details of next year's plan with regards to testing, routines, and safe lunch practices with time to hear community feedback before you submit the plan on the 24th? I understand you have already surveyed families. However, once specifics are presented, it will be easier for community members to identify and vote specific concerns and challenges. And that's from Abigail Murtaugh of Maplewood. And that concludes our second public speaks.
Thank you to Ms. Murtaugh for bringing public speaks. So this is a little bit convoluted, and so we try to use multiple platforms because the template that the state is utilizing is not as detailed as the planning that we're going to share with the community, right? So as we submit our state's template for the reopening plan, it'll be influenced, of course, by the public comment that we have received. And I can tell you that the majority of the public comment was just expressing support for full days, 5 days a week, et cetera, just reiterating what we've heard before. Public speak that we've had throughout COVID-19 also is influential of this work. It's not a singular opportunity to influence. The plan that is going to be submitted on June 24th, there will more than likely not be a preview of that work that allows public speaks again. But we definitely will be continuing our planning because we know that we're approaching a moving target. Literally, we're getting updates every week on what should be expected for schools moving into fall, and that is still far from complete. For example, the state has not yet given guidance on if grades who have had the opportunity to be vaccinated, are they mandated to wear masks, right? We don't know that. That hasn't been shared or discussed. So even if we put in our plans that will comply with the state's mandate, there's still a lack of details because COVID-19, of course, is a moving target. Now, again, while we would love to continue to share before we submit, we've given multiple opportunities to do so for the state's template. But as far as our functional reopening plan for September, we still have time, and our task force will continue to work past the June 24th submission date and continue to share those updates. I hope that was clear.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. We're now on to new business. Does anybody have any new business? Board Member Cottle.
Yes, under new business, I just want to acknowledge and thank my fellow board members and Dr. Taylor and the school district for acknowledging and sending out the correspondence in celebration of Pride and Summer Pride 2021, and also sharing all the many wonderful family events that are throughout our community. I know that I have received, I'm sure my colleagues have as well, the impact that's made already. I'm hearing from students and families and just other community members about how the district making that statement is so profound, and in support in concert with the Village of South Orange and the Township of Maplewood. We've also influenced other communities. I'd like to report that there are other board colleagues from across New Jersey that have reached out to me to also learn how they too can also do a lavender graduation, and also be in support of expanding our transgender student policy like we most recently did, and just in general create a more welcoming environment for all of our students, including our LGBTQ plus students and families. So I just want to acknowledge that to my colleagues and to the district, and thank you all for the work that you do together, and let you know that we have already been making profound waves of awareness in our community, and the impacts of are those that will resonate for some time to come for our students and families. So thank you for your support in that. And I do believe, from my understanding, please, Board Member Manny or Board Member Wright or others that have served with seasoned time on the board, I believe that was the most comprehensive and more formal support of Pride Month that the district has done and put out to families. And I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you, and the impacts that makes. So thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Cottle. Board Member Alcina.
Hi. Yes, I've gotten numerous correspondence from families and also from students requesting that when we're looking at reopening, that we look at the possibility of doing later start times, especially for the high school students. It was greatly beneficial to the students that I've spoken with, and my son included, that things started a little later this last year, and we know the research are related to later start times and how it is very beneficial. So I would like to ask that when we are looking into our reopening guidelines, that we take into that as a possibility or into consideration, because I believe it is something that would benefit all children, but especially our high schoolers.
Thank you, Board Member Malsfino. Any other new business? Okay, I have one, so I just wanted to give everyone an opportunity. As my colleagues know, and some of those watching may know, this afternoon I was invited to speak on behalf of the board by South Orange Village trustees and the NAACP of the Oranges in Maplewood to commemorate the beginning of Juneteenth week, as we're celebrating here in South Orange and Maplewood. There are many events. Yesterday, there was an event at the Yale Corner in Maplewood, and there will be events throughout the week, culminating with Saturday, where there will be events at Durant Hutton during the day, and then activities in the evening in South Orange at Floods Hill. During my remarks and listening to all the other speakers that were there this afternoon, I was once again moved by the idea that we heard a lot from our community about what Juneteenth means for all of us, and that it's something that's not taught much in our schools. It's something I didn't learn about until I was an adult, and I know that is changing, and I'm happy to hear that. But it also disheartens me that we talk about Juneteenth, meaning the official end of slavery, and one of our schools is named after a slaveholder. So I would like us as a board to consider renaming Jefferson Elementary School as we go through this construction project timeline. That concludes. Board Member Bergen and then Board Member Wakefield.
Oh, I just wanted to say I completely support that idea about Jefferson. Thank you for bringing it up.
Yep, I co-sign as well. Thank you, Board President.
This evening. Hey.
Mr. President, if I could interrupt just 1 second.
Go right ahead, Dr. Taylor.
You have the, on the bottom of our agenda, we're getting ready to go into the advertisement for our upcoming special meetings. I wanted to ask our solicitor for advice. The Personnel Committee is holding an ad hoc conversation around our final candidate for business administrator. And if at all possible, I would like to have the board consider that single personnel action one of those special meetings. This is a very important position for our school district. Ms. Butler, can you just advise us on if the board president reads those dates as they are written, and we need to switch one of those meetings to have action possible, what would be that process, just so that we don't get ourselves into a bind?
Okay, what you would do, you can do these resolutions tonight, and then if it's determined that you are going to need to have an open meeting, so that you are able to vote on it, of course, you would have to do the requisite components for the meeting, including offering a public speaks. But you can do that. You would have to you'd have to do a new notice. You would have to update the agenda. Obviously, an agenda only exists as to what it is at that time, and there are opportunities to update an agenda. You would just want to do it with as much notice as possible in advance of one of those meetings.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. Board of Education will meet in a special executive session only on Thursday, June 17th at 6:30 p.m. using an online video conference platform to discuss the the superintendent evaluation. The Board of Education, no action will be taken, excuse me. The Board of Education will meet in another special executive session on Saturday, June 19th at 10 a.m. using an online video conference platform to continue discussing the superintendent evaluation. No action will be taken. Not lastly, the Board of Education will then meet another special executive session Monday, June 28th at 6:30 p.m. using an online video conference platform to finalize the superintendent evaluation. No action will be taken. The Board of Education will meet in a closed session Monday, June 19th at 6:30 using an online video conference platform to discuss personnel, legal, negotiations, and other matters that may be determined at a later date. Following that closed session, we'll meet an open session on Monday, July 19th at 7:30 p.m. Using an online video conference platform. Action will be taken. Board of Education will also hold a board retreat Thursday, July 22nd at 6:30 p.m. using an online video conference platform to discuss the board self-evaluation. Action may be taken. I guess I need a second on all that, right?
Yes.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Coe. All in favor? Aye. Okay. And thank you, everyone. That was unanimous, Ms. Delgarcio, for the record. At 9:34 p.m., we did Lily a favor. This meeting is adjourned. I'll see you all Thursday. Be safe and take care. Thank you. Good night.
Be safe, everyone.
Thank you, Lily.